Charter Spectrum on July 20th, 2022, cut off our phone service without giving us notice. Then we found out that we were being coerced into signing an agreement that we didn't even know about. We subsequently found out that thousands of people were being coerced in the same way. One or more services are being shut off, and the reps were telling us this is just normal coercive tactics they use to get people to sign their agreement. I think it's wrong. I think it's mob-like tactics. Imagine for a moment that you are frail and elderly, living alone. All your relatives are far away. Nearly all your friends have passed on. You rarely use your home phone anymore, either to make or receive calls. You live on a fixed income and get free TV from a digital antenna that someone installed for you some time ago. Your home phone service provider is Charter Spectrum. You don't have internet service because you can't afford it and don't know how to use it. You also don't have a cell phone. One day, July 20th, 2022, your Charter Spectrum phone service is disabled, but you are unaware of it. Several days later, you have a health crisis. You try to call 911, but only get a busy signal. You somehow make it to a neighbor's phone to call 911. Afterwards, Charter Spectrum reps tell you that your phone service was deliberately stopped because you need to agree to a new terms of service document 25 pages long. The document is for new customers. You tell Charter Spectrum that you're not a new customer and that you pay for your phone service in advance every month. It doesn't matter. Charter Spectrum won't turn the service back on until you agree to the new terms of service. Since you can't agree to the new terms of service through email, they suggest you visit a Charter Spectrum store to do so. Your recent health crisis prevents you from using the bus for a few days, and your neighbor had to leave town immediately on her own emergency. You can't go. Charter Spectrum says they will send a document in the mail, and you can send it back, signed. During the intervening time, Charter Spectrum refuses to turn your phone service back on. You have another health crisis. But this time, you can't even crawl out of the house to a neighbor. You pass away alone in fear and agony. The basics of this scenario actually happened starting July 20th, 2022, to my wife and I, and as I subsequently found out, thousands of others. Our phone service was turned off without any notice. Fortunately, we had cell phones with Consumer Cellular. We contacted Charter Spectrum. The Charter Spectrum reps said our home phone service would be disabled until we agreed to the new terms of service given to new customers. All the reps said this is normal business practice for them. One phone rep even said that all of Charter Spectrum services may be shut off if we didn't agree to the new terms before any disabled service will be turned back on. Our internet service was still working, so the 25-page PDF was emailed to me. I wanted to read it all, but it would have taken quite some time, and I knew that our phone service would be gone that entire time. Maybe other services would be as well. Under coercion, we agreed. Our phone service was restored. I eventually realized that the scenario I described at the beginning was a real possibility for someone, maybe many someones, as a result of Charter Spectrum's action. Not once did any Charter Spectrum rep indicate that this was anything other than normal business for them. One, as I mentioned, even threatened cutting off all our services if we didn't comply with the demand to agree to terms. These are the actions of a mob organization. It shouldn't be promulgated by a supposedly illegal cable telecom company. After I complained to the MPSC, Michigan Public Service Commission, a high-level individual with Charter Spectrum, Jeremy Shelton, contacted me almost immediately. He apologized, saying it was all some kind of a mistake. He even offered me 2 free months of home phone service. I turned his offer down. Instead, I asked him to send out an apology letter, not email, to all of the customers affected, all several thousand of us. He thought it was a good idea. I was still skeptical, but would wait to see if all of us customers received the letter with my suggestions in it. One of my suggestions was to include an assurance that Charter Spectrum would never use such coercive tactics again even if the service outage was a mistake. No such letter ever came. And that's why I wanted to mention today is August 11th, 2022. It's after 3 p.m. This incident started on July 20th, and I talked to him very shortly afterwards, which means it's been what 2 weeks or so, maybe closer to three. No letter has arrived. No such letter came. I emailed Mr. Shelton about it several times. I never received a reply back. Mr. Shelton's contention that it was some kind of mistake doesn't take away the fact that coercive mob-style tactics were employed so users would agree to the new customer terms of service or else go without Charter Spectrum services that were paid in advance. What's more, it's difficult to accept Mr. Shelton's contention that it was just a mistake when all of the reps we contacted before him said it's normal business. Maybe Charter Spectrum deliberately did this in the past to other customers, and the reps knew about it full well. The public needs to know how Charter Spectrum treats its customers and how some customers may have their health, even their lives, threatened by these mob-like coercive tactics. Note, the scenario at the beginning came to me when I thought of my frail 88-year-old mother living nearly 1,700 miles away from my Michigan location. She actually had health crises that required 911 calls. Fortunately, her home phone provider was not Charter Spectrum. I want to show you something else. This is the 25-page document they expect you to agree to, new terms of service, without really having time to read it. Now, this might take an ordinary person, small print too, several weeks to read if you really want to spend time and read it thoroughly. We had no time. If we spent several weeks, we'd be without our phone service during all that time, and we may have all our other services cut off as well. This is mob-style tactics, this kind of blackmail, hostage holding. And all of the reps, except for Mr. Shelton, who said it was all a mistake, all of the reps said it was normal business. In fact, I can even read what one of the reps said exactly when I went to Twitter. It is always requested to agree to the terms of service to use any provider service. It is no more coercion than the store requiring you to pay for goods, or else you are not allowed to leave the store with them. Please check your email so you can complete the agreement. Let us know if the issue persists afterwards. You get the idea. And it's not just him. The phone reps, the other Twitter reps, all acted as if it was normal course of business. Whether it was a mistake, as Mr. Shelton said, or deliberate, they took advantage of it to force not only our hand, but the hand that coerced everyone else who was involved. And I didn't even know there were thousands of people until Mr. Shelton told me. Oh, yeah, we're not new customers. Right. You got that, right? We're not new customers, but we had to sign a new customer's terms of agreement, 25 pages long. Let's agree to it before and what we got was well, I'll have you listen to what we got. Do you hear that? It was just a busy signal. One phone rep indicated that, oh, you still have 911. So I checked. No, we had no access to anything. They deliberately turned it off. What was a mistake? In either case, they were coercing us and thousands of other people to sign this agreement, or else you would not get your service back and you may lose even more services. Now, I'm sorry, but I had to, in terms of feelings and thoughts, that pretty much encapsulates where I am right now. I'm furious. It's not that I want them to do something for me, like give me a free month or two of phone service. It's not that. I want an apology from them and an assurance that it will never happen again. And it's been, what, 2-3 weeks? And that letter hasn't gone out. I haven't received it. I think, when I emailed Mr. Shelton several times, he never emailed me back. The only conclusion I can come to is it wasn't a mistake. They don't really have a good excuse, and they damn well may do it again whenever the hell they feel like it to coerce us into doing whatever it is they want us to do. And by the way, a coerced agreement signed or agreed to is not in a court of law, if you can prove it's coercion, it's not it's not a meeting of both parties. It's not a meeting of minds. I think that's what they call it in contract law. I want everybody who was affected, not just me. I want everybody who was affected to get that apology letter, not an email, because some people don't have the internet. I want a piece of paper. That's what I told them. An apology explaining what happened, apologizing, and assuring people that it would never happen again. And I want the assurance that it would never happen again, that these coercive tactics, and I want him to use words that that indicate he doesn't have to use coercive tactics, but he can use something else. We apologize by what seems like coercive or blackmail tactics to get you to sign. That will never happen again. That's what I want. So far, I haven't gotten it. I haven't received it. I don't know if all the other thousand, and if we don't get that, the other thing I would like is for them to go on the air, to go to the media outlets and tell them what they did and apologize that way. Or put some ads on the TV and say, we apologize for what we did. And we assure you it will never happen again. Here's what I want to do. I'm delighted about this interview, but if this doesn't get far enough, I'm going to contact as many media outlets from Michigan as I can and let them know exactly what I let you know. Um, Send them the write up that I created to all of them, and let them know what happened. These are mob style tactics. A legal cable telecom company shouldn't be engaging in these kinds of tactics, even if it's a mistake. If the service or services were turned off by mistake, you don't coerce people into signing an agreement to get them back. You simply give it back to the people and then say, oh, we're going to be sending you an agreement. You'll have 30 to 60 days to look it over or whatever and decide what you're going to do if you're going to agree to it. That would make more sense. In fact, Mr. Shelton on the phone even agreed with me that would be the preferable way to do it. That makes more sense. Apparently, his agreement with his when he agreed, it meant nothing. I'm very angry about this. I don't want anything personally. $20, $40 a month for a couple of months to in compensation for the phone for a home phone service is nothing. What I want is far more sweeping than that. I think you get that. Because if we're going to continue to deal with the mob style organization, people need to know about it. Not just us, but everybody need to know, including their future customers. Okay, I'm settling for a letter to go out with their present customers. But what I'd really like is for future customers to know what they did. And I will go to the media, and maybe somebody in the media might get interested to investigate a little bit and find out that what I'm telling you is the truth. And I have records of everything, even phone records, because I recorded the conversations. And at the beginning of each conversation with their reps on the phone, there's an automated voice that says, "This call may be recorded for our own purposes." Well, if they're going to record it, it's legal for me to do the same thing. And when I spoke to Mr. Shelton, I recorded the conversation with his permission. So I got records of almost everything. I even read you the Twitter thing from one rep. What they're doing is shameful. At the least, and at worst, it's illegal, and it's reminiscent of what a mob organization does. So I understand that PissedConsumer it attempts to help individual consumers get reconciliation of some kind. I don't know if I fit into that category because I don't really want anything from them except to make this right, not just with me, but everybody who was affected and who was coerced, who was blackmailed as we were. And I got to wonder if there really were people such as I described who live alone, only have the phone service, and had a health. You know, my mother has had several health crises, and she's always able to get to 911. But one time she fell down and she couldn't get up for 24 hours. If it weren't for a neighbor figuring it out, she probably would have died there alone, in pain, in fear and agony. And I'm afraid that somebody that may have happened to somebody, or maybe they came close to it because the phone wasn't working and they couldn't get Charter Spectrum to listen. I mean, we'll probably never know if that actually happened. It really, really disturbs me to think of somebody in the same situation as my mother. I'm 71 years old. She's 88. To think of frail, elderly, alone. I'm not frail. I'm elderly, sort of, and I'm not alone. But I'm lucky. Not everybody is so lucky. The older you get, even if you stay in good health, you're going to lose friends. You're going to lose a lot of things, a support system that may be there when your phone isn't there or something like that. I think you understand what I mean. And if you don't, I hope you never find out. I hope you're always lucky. And I hope everybody else who hears this is always lucky. But if you're not so lucky, it's still unpleasant to be coerced into for signing some kind of an agreement you didn't even know existed until your service went out. I didn't know that we were supposed to sign anything. And we weren't told the service was going to go out. It was a total surprise to us.